So this is one of the wildest stories that's ever happened to me, where it's like a life lesson in a fairly short amount of time. It's about when I was running on a beach, saw this kid, he said something to me, and I wanted to just absolutely break him apart. I wanted to snap him like a hard carrot. I'm gonna share exactly what was going on in my mind, what he said to me, and then how it all came full cycle within 20 minutes. In July of 2012, I was 27 years old and I just turned 27 years old and had very little money in the bank. In fact, I was so broke that I was paying for gas out of the coins in the cup holder of my car. I was selling my furniture on Craigslist in order to get 10 bucks, 20 bucks, 30 bucks. I had chased too many shiny objects. It's one thing that was a big lesson learned early on in business is I had something going for me that was working well. And then somebody started chirping in my ear about another shiny object. I pursued that for a couple of years and went completely broke. I had literally 80 bucks in my savings account and over $25,000 in credit card debt. When you're that broke and it feels like the walls are coming in on you, I was just negative. I was negative about everything. I was like, how could this happen to me? And I couldn't afford a gym membership, so I had a tough day one Saturday as I was trying to work, and I come out to the beach and I'm right here. I'm just kind of like stretching and getting ready and then start jogging. And so I go for a jog, and actually it happened down at that pier and I was going in the opposite direction. And while I'm running north, within the first, 500 feet, there's a couple kids who were there that had been drinking, you could tell, for like all day. They're throwing a football. And one of the kids who's there, a little heavier set, looks at me, looks at his friends and says, "Hey guys, check it out. He's in first place." As I'm jogging along, he puts the football down, comes over and starts clapping in my face.
"Hey man, you can do it. You're doing great. Congratulations. You're doing awesome, man."
I'm running in a very already angry mindset, just jogging, and this kid's like right here. And I don't know if I should just knock him out right now or try to play it cool and think about how I should respond on my way back. So I keep on jogging. I pay him no mind. I look at him and I just kind of look away, but I'm fuming and I'm jogging. And all I can think about is like how I want to take this kid's legs out, either physically or emotionally, when I cycle back and see him again. And so I'm thinking about the meanest things, about how I just want to pummel this kid. And if he says something to me on my return, I might just get in a fight with this kid and knock him out, hopefully not get my butt kicked by all of his friends jumping in. I run about 1.5 miles down and turn around at one house. And I remember looking at a house. It was definitely a lot nicer than this house right here. But there's this one house that looks like a castle. And I remember thinking, like, one day I'm gonna own one of these multi-million-dollar houses right here on the beach in Charleston, South Carolina. It's a pretty bold statement for somebody who's got $25,000 in credit card debt and only 80 bucks in their bank account, right? And so I get to that house and I turn around and I'm getting madder and madder, and I just, I see all these huge houses, all these wealthy people, all these people on vacation, hanging out, having fun. And I'm like, of course, right? Like, my life is difficult. Nothing good ever happens to me. All this negative commentary. And so as I'm running, I saw this table on the way down, and there were people setting up like beer pong and just having a good time. And there are all these cups out. And as I cycle back, I noticed that they're pouring like Gatorade or whatever in all these different cups. And then I keep on running, and somebody else is, running towards me in the opposite direction. And I notice they got like a little number on their shirt. And I keep running, and there's a few more people jogging on the beach, and they have little numbers on their shirt. And then I see this big flock of people who were in a 5K race right here on the beach that had started literally minutes before, way down at the other end of the island, minutes before I started running myself. And I realized that wasn't a beer pong table, it was Gatorade cups being handed out to all these different runners. And the beach run was that Saturday in July, where they started on the south side of the island, they ran to the north side, turned around, somewhere around where I turned around, and then started running back. And I had literally started going for a jog just before that. Other people on the beach realized, including that kid, realized that there was a beach run happening. He wasn't making fun of me. He wasn't my worst enemy. This guy who didn't know me from Adam was cheering on a stranger who he thought was in first place in the local Isle of Palms beach run. Me, because of my negative mentality, thought that he was my worst enemy. And he wasn't my worst enemy. He was actually my greatest fan. He was my greatest supporter. And despite all the negativity that I had going on in my life, somebody was cheering me on. It was such a punch in the gut where I didn't want to beat up this kid anymore. I wanted to beat myself up because of how negative I was and just how bad my mentality was around all things in life. And I quickly realized, in such a life lesson that we make up these crazy stories about things that aren't true. They're stories that we make up in our own mind that are not accurate. Why do we do that? How many times in your life do you walk into a business meeting saying, oh, this is gonna be horrible. Let me go meet with this lender on this property walkthrough. This is gonna be awful. Let me go and sit down with this employee who wants to talk with me today about something going on in their life, and they're just gonna wanna take. Or let me talk to this private lender who is all angry because of a quarterly update or a payment was late or whatever it was, and this is another thing that I gotta deal with. Or your spouse, right? Then all of a sudden your spouse goes to bed a little bit before you and you stay up and you're thinking they don't want to hang out with you anymore, they don't want to spend time with you anymore. And we go through all these different stories in life across all different facets of life, relationships, business, finances, health, all those different things. And we always go negative with these stories instead of going positive with these stories. So what I would challenge you is think about the stories that you're telling yourself right now without any basis behind them. And instead of creating these stories, maybe just have a conversation. Maybe talk to your spouse, maybe talk to your team, maybe talk to that lender, talk to the investor. Like, have the conversations with them so that way you don't have to make up stories. Because naturally, you're always gonna go negative. Naturally, it's always gonna be, come on, bud. Naturally, it's always gonna be adverse, and it's only gonna create hesitation, it's only gonna create stress, it's only gonna create worry, which doesn't help anybody in anything. So, learn from my mistake. Do not prejudge. Do not make your mind up about a situation when it hasn't fully played out yet. And you're gonna save yourself a lot of stress, you're gonna save yourself a lot of worry, you're gonna save yourself a lot of concerns. And instead of focusing on the fear side of things, you can be a little bit more faithful, a little bit more positive, a little bit more optimistic. And I'm telling you, everything will change. Oh, and by the way, almost 7 years to the day of changing my mindset, bought a house on the beach.